Welcome back, guys, to another episode of the CineMatch podcast, the podcast where we take different movies every week and find new ways to debate and rate them. We're still carrying on with our October Halloween theme right now. Last time we did slashers, one of Nathan's least favourite episodes so far, I imagine.
No, I actually finished recording it. I think that might be top 3 for me.
Okay, well, it might be one of your favourite episodes, but it was your least favourite films, shall we say.
Yeah, 100%, definitely.
Yeah, we're carrying on with the horror genre this time, but we're switching up subgenres. We did slashers then. We're doing ghosts and haunted houses type of situations now. We'll talk about more about that in a minute. My name's Cal Altimus, and I am one of your hosts. And joining me, as he does every week, is the other host, Mr. Grace Sackle Appleby.
No,
as he will be at this point, won't you?
No, Nathan Sackle Hannah.
Yeah, I think you should. I think you should double barrel your name now.
That's what we are doing. That's what we have done.
Are you actually?
Yeah. By this time,
I didn't actually know that was real.
By this time, my last name will have changed. Yeah.
Sackle Hannah.
Wow.
Yeah, you've been married a week now?
Yes.
That's if she hasn't got sick of you yet.
Oh, more than likely. No, yeah, because I've already got 2 middle names, so it's going to be Nathan James Edward Sackle Hannah. It's a long name.
Jesus,
Dumbledore
that is long. That's very long.
Because people are asking, is it going to be Sackle Appleby Hannah? I'm like, not with my middle names already, pal. No.
There's not even like a single, like, they're all like, shit, what's that word now?
I don't know.
That word's completely gone. Do you know when, still, they're all 2 syllables at least. That's the word, syllables. Like, you've not got any single syllables in there, have you? It's just as long as you can possibly get.
No, James.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that one. Edward, was that the other one?
Yeah. But we can shorten that one to Jedward, it's fine. Other people do.
Oh, God. That's not what you want. See, mine's all long. It's Callum Darrell Altimus. Like, there's nothing.
Callum Darrell, that is the worst mouthful.
Yeah.
Callum Darrell Altimus.
I'll just stick with Cal.
Anyway, this is a Halloween episode.
Yeah. Talking about the horrors of our names, it's fine.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, this week we're doing a little something different to the slashers. I'd say it's this ghost genre. I'm not really sure you can call it ghosts because they're more like demonic entities, but we're doing Insidious from 2011, which was directed by James Wan, against another James Wan movie, which was The Conjuring from 2013. So you said on the last episode that you're not really a big horror guy and you quite like slashers, but you didn't really watch too much else. What are your thoughts on like ghosts and stuff like that?
So very hit and miss. Very, very hit and miss. So I watched some that absolutely bore me to tears to the point of sleeping, like that don't even scare me or even freak me out in the slightest, like Paranormal Activity. Hate that film. What was the one I was thinking of earlier that it's really good that I can't remember right this second? But stuff like that, I think with supernatural stuff, especially religious stuff, especially in the Conjuring universe, like the Nun I didn't like, that was boring to me, but I really like The Conjuring and Insidious. Like I really like these 2 movies, so it's after last week, it's a nice palate cleanser to have gone back and rewatch them. One I like more than the other, which you already know because I've given you my score ahead of time, but one I do prefer over the other, definitely, but I do like both these movies. But yeah, definitely I do like, I think it's really got to be, I think it's more for performances in this. It's really got to grab me in terms of supernatural.
Yeah, like last week with the 80s horrors, they're quite like trashy and don't take themselves too seriously. Where these, I think it is a step up in quality. They're a lot more well crafted. They take themselves a lot more seriously. But I do agree. I think they're both great movies. Both directed by James Wan. I saw this thing, and he could like the first Saw was made for like maybe like $1 million or something like that, and obviously made a shit ton. Same with the first Insidious. I think that was made for like 1.5, and he made like hundreds of millions again. He obviously did Aquaman, which made $1 billion. This guy could be like the most profitable director like ever. Like it's mad what he's done with like some small budgets, and the fact that he had, not to touch on cash yet, but he had Patrick Wilson and Rose Byrne in films. Somehow it still cost less than 1.5. I don't understand that. Like he got them cheap.
But I imagine it's before they got like 2011. That's a while ago.
Yeah, 12 years. I was still in school. You weren't.
let's not play this game again. I'm in my 20s, right? But I imagine it's before they were big. But didn't he do it? He did Fast and Furious as well, didn't he?
Did he?
I'm sure he did a Fast and Furious movie. This is where my researching skill comes, and I just start googling stuff whilst filming an episode. Fast. He did Furious 7.
Did he really?
It says it did.
Oh, I didn't know that. It rings a bell now that you say it, but I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't remember that at all. I don't associate him with that at all. That must have made a lot of money as well, because that Paul Walker's last one.
Yeah, it did. It fucking did. So the budget of no more than 250 million, including marketing. It got a box office of 1.5 billion.
Jesus, yeah. So he's made a bit of dollar in his time, and he made these two movies. Two of the most like iconic, I'd say, ghost movies of the 21st century. And it's interesting because I feel like he ushered in like I hate the phrase, it's grim, but like the torture porn era we saw, which obviously led to like Hostel, like then the Hills of Eyes and stuff came out. And it feels like he also kind of brought in this like resurge of interest in like the ghost stuff, because after these, it felt like every movie that came out was like about a haunted house. Like most of the Netflix specials, like the House on Haunted Hill, a remake. It's like there's so many of them which are about ghosts now. So it feels like he was influential in both subgenres taking off. But yeah, these two are great movies. So we were talking about movies that you could compare, and it makes sense to do this because they both are directed by James Wan. They both star Patrick Wilson.
They both got very similar rules about their spirits as well. Somewhat, obviously, there's a few changes with how the rules work, but it's somewhat like we've literally just finished watching it in the beginning when he knocks at the door. The spirit knocks at the door, and Grace was like, "Comes in threes," because we literally watched Conjuring the day before, and it's like it was explaining it comes in threes. I was like, "Well, it's the same director, so it makes sense."
Yeah, it does. But yeah, it's interesting to see what James Wan did with both movies, because the Insidious movie was obviously a lot cheaper, and you can kind of tell it was made for cheap. There's a lot of like with the camera movements, it kind of feels like you can tell it's someone holding like a handheld camera, whereas the Conjuring obviously had a much bigger budget, and it does show. So, have you been a fan of both of these since they came out? Then?
No. Like I say, I only started really watching horrors over the past 4 or 5 years, and these are ones that Grace introduced me to. Yeah, like you said about handheld, like there's times when Insidious looks like an episode of EastEnders, like but with ghosts in it. Conjuring's like a full. You could tell it's had a bit more money and camera work and like a proper DP on it. So, yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. I just completely lost my train of thought. We shouldn't film late at night. I think this needs to be the rule. We can't film past 9 o'clock.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're taking from me there, just getting lost in your own thoughts out of nowhere. But yeah, Insidious.
Not been a fan since it started, but do really like him. I've watched all the Conjurings except for the second one and that I can't pronounce it, La Llorona. And watched all the Insidiouses except for the one just before the last one that had nothing to do with the OG family.
Yeah. The first Insidious film was actually the first time I ever watched it, should I say, was the first time me and Eleanor ever like spent time together. Like she came around and we watched that, and she's not really into horror movies.
Put a spooky movie on so you can look oh, come here, come close, it's fine, I'll hold you.
So it's funny, so we put that on, and she's not a fan of horror movies, but she didn't tell me at the time. But she didn't find it scary at all. I mean, neither of us did. And so we were like, so I said, should we watch another? And she agreed because she was too nervous to tell me she didn't like horror movies yet. So we watched the Amityville Horror after that. But yeah, I feel like that's one that, as I've somehow gotten older, I've found it creepier. Like when I watched it when I was 20, it didn't have any effects whatsoever. But watching it now, there are bits where I'm like, that is creepy. Like, whereas The Conjuring, I watched in the cinema when it came out. And from the minute one, I thought that was brilliant. I loved it so much. So I'm excited to talk about both movies here.
Let's just show all of our cards now, shall we?
Hey, I'm saying Insidious has grown on me. And it's got one of these, not to step on a category too much, but it's got one of the scariest fucking songs in the world.
Oh
It
yeah.
it it makes my skin crawl now. So I'll talk about that soon. But yeah, without further ado, then we'll get started with the CineMatch showdown between Insidious and The Conjuring. We'll start off with a story, and I'll let you go first this time because I usually go first in the first categories. But the Conjuring one's quite straightforward. It's family moving to a house. It turns out to be haunted. There's some unkind spirits in there. It's set in the 70s,
Which
and they
I'm
eventually.
going to say which one are you describing right now because
That's the Conjuring. Set in the 70s. There's some unkind spirits. They eventually call in a couple of paranormal investigators based on the real life couple, Ed and Lorraine Warren, which I think the stories are very, very greatly exaggerated to what those guys actually went through. But
how much of this is based on a true story do you believe?
yeah, not much at all, really. And I actually think I think I believe in ghosts, but I don't buy most of the stuff that is genuine from them.
Yeah.
But then in comparison, you've got the Insidious story, which is on the premise and on the surface, it feels similar. It's about a family that move into a house and they start being haunted, but it's as you delve in, it's actually a lot different. It turns out it's not the house haunted. It's with a quite iconic twist where it's the young boy, and it goes into all this thing with the astral projection and how he passed down from his father has the ability to astral project in his sleep, and his soul has been taken after straying too far into some place called the Further. Which, when she goes on that talk, I'm like,
you just zone out.
Yeah, I do. Anytime anyone speaks for longer,
I'm gonna say it's not like you to zone out when somebody's trying to explain something to you.
I know. Yeah, anytime anyone speaks longer than 2 minutes, I'm just like. But yeah, and then it turns into a bit more of like an actiony thing towards the end with Patrick Wilson stepping up and joining. So on the surface, they're very similar, but as you delve into them, they're quite different. So how did you score this?
It's interesting you say that Insidious is different because it's the boy that's haunted, and so like even though they moved, it's not a problem. But that's what would have happened in The Conjuring. They specifically explained it, didn't they? That even if you moved, they'll attach you. So I think it just shows that James Wan set these rules to what supernatural beings can do. And he's kind of stuck to them, even though the franchises aren't connected in any way. Though I suppose Conjuring came after Insidious, so he would have taken that rule from Insidious as well. I scored this 10-9 in favor of The Conjuring, purely based on the fact that one of the reasons I really, really love The Conjuring is it's not just a supernatural horror story. It's not just a haunted house and a tortured family. It is also a detective story, like much more than Insidious is. Ed and Lorraine Warren and their merry gang of investigators. It's at one point it's a full-on detective story where they're trying to figure it out. We've got all the gizmos and the gadgets and the lights and the tripwires, and it's much more than just your typical things are happening, spooky, scary. You can see things in the background, things are moving. It's got a lot. I think it's got an extra layer of depth to it, and not only that, but you've got two stories. You've got the haunting of Ed and of the Perrin family, but you've also got the haunting of Ed and Lorraine back at their house with Annabelle, who absolutely fucking delight and scares the living shit out of me. I know they sell like proper Annabelle dolls, like there's a shop in town that does them. I don't think I'd be able to have one of them in my house. Scared the living fuck out of me. My mum's got some really old porcelain dolls that she keeps at a caravan in these glass cabinets. I won't be able to sleep in that room. Fuck that. But yeah, I think it's just got so much more layers to it than Insidious does because of what it does extra. And Insidious' story is good. I like what they do with the Further and going into that spirit world, but at a certain point for me it gets a bit goofy and it stops becoming a horror. So if I'm judging this basically on a horror standpoint, I think the story for Conjuring is just got a lot more meat on the bones for me.
Yeah, I actually completely agree with what you said at the end there, where it doesn't feel as much like a horror as it delves deeper in. It like I said earlier, it kind of turns into more like an action sort of thing with the favour and stuff, which is exactly why I scored it 10-9 in favour of The Conjuring as well. I also think I don't really know what else I can talk about this. So I love like it's set in the 70s. I love where horror movies are set in the past like that because it feels scary to me. I don't know why. Because modern day stuff, it feels a lot less realistic. Can't quite sure how that makes any sense to me whatsoever, but it does. Whereas when it's set in the past, it feels like that sort of thing could have happened. And like the astral projection stuff, while it's an interesting twist and it's a different take, like I said, for me, it's like when they start talking about it, I'm like, I ain't got a clue what's going on. Like, I don't even know what you mean by astral projection. That doesn't make sense to me. And like you said, the inner turmoil with Ed and Lorraine, and despite not really seeing much of it, we get that little it's like something's happened before the film and we're still dealing with the repercussions now, which is quite nice. And it shows they're clearly not perfect. They're struggling.
Nice. Quite nice.
Yeah, it's nice. Delightful. Yeah,
traumatized. It's lovely.
But yeah, they're clearly struggling, and like you said, the investigative nature of it, where they're trying to figure out what is happening and like what the spirits are after, and they eventually like work it out that it's the one woman that's doing it all, or demon. I don't even know what the fuck she was. Ugly motherfucker is what she was. But, yeah, I like that, and I think if you are paranormal investigators, I want to see some investigating. That's what I want to see. So yeah, I agree. I went 10-9 in favour of The Conjuring because I do think the story is better. But I also think where The Conjuring, they enter the house and that's when they get kind of fucked. I think in Insidious, the kind of notion is it didn't matter if they moved house or not. I think what happened would have happened anyway because it was initially, they could have never moved and that chain of events would have probably still happened. It was just unfortunate timing that they just moved into a new house. But yeah, I went 10-9 as well. The Conjuring story fucking rocks. Like,
yeah, and there's no real like kind of explanation as to why it's happening in Insidious, other than, well, even Josh, the dad, like it's kind of explained that he had it in the past, but that didn't really open a connection to like right now, other than, oh no, he kind of did. It's just that he went too far, but it's not really explained very well. It's just talking at you rather than seeing it as well. And sometimes dialogue heavy stuff is good, but like that's the kind of stuff you want to see. It's all just a bit, oh yeah, and this happened and this is why it happened. It wasn't executed as well as The Conjuring definitely executed it.
Yeah, 100%. We'll move on then to the openings of both movies, which is interesting because at first I wasn't quite sure. I didn't really remember much about either of them, but when you watch them again now, I felt it was a clear winner for me. The Conjuring one, sorry, I'll start with the Insidious one. The Insidious one, it was quite strange. Like just the shots in the beginning, I'm not really sure what to make of it. Like it showed everyone in the house asleep, and all of a sudden we saw the demon woman before it cut into just the credits, which featured a lot of like it was like shots of the house, but a lot of it seemed almost hand drawn and stuff. Yeah. And it was fine, but there wasn't really much to take away from it. Whereas I think the Conjuring one, with the brief story of Annabelle, and we got to see that little bit with the roommates dealing with the doll and how it terrorized them. Like, I mean, that opening inspired the Annabelle movie. Like, that's how effective it was. And even after that bit, we see Ed and Lorraine in the university giving the speech. So it not only shows us work they've done in the past, but it also gives us a real in-depth look at them as they explain the case and they answer questions. And you already get like a real idea of who they are. Whereas the Insidious one, I think it's just, I mean, it's creepy, but there's not really much else to take away from it. So I went 10-9 in favour of The Conjuring again, because I really like that opening. I think the Annabelle stuff, I mean, like I said, it was that good and people were that interested that they made an entire film on it, which did really well. So it's hard to score against it. But yeah, that's why I went 10-9.
I think you're right with the Insidious. Like, I was really confused watching it. Even though I know what happens in the film, like even the opening again, I was like, what the fuck's this about? It's really like quick and B, like disjointed, because it just kind of happens and then goes straight into the credits, like no explanation or anything. And obviously the film go on, you kind of understand it a bit more, but it's just like a really jarring opening. Whereas like I don't get creeped out or get scared or easily because I'm a big boy. But like the Annabelle stuff at the beginning, just it's creepy. It is a bit that fucking creepy. Like there's a close up shot of her fucking face. Like first of all, I don't care if it's the fucking late 60s or the 70s. Who takes a doll in that looks like that? Like
Fucking
this,
hell.
this is before technology when people actually thought religion was real. Like this, you would not fucking take that thing in. Absolutely fucking not. So, but it's fucking creepy, and that dog creeps me the fuck out. So I'm gonna call this move pulling a cow because Insidious's opening was so boring. Even after the credits, like you're just watching them unpack the house and eating wax apples and whatever, and fucking kids screaming, getting on my nerves. So I'm gonna call a pulling a cow and go 10-8 to
10-8.
10-8 to Conjuring because the opening to Insidious is just it doesn't even compare in the absolute slightest.
No, you're not wrong. I think the Conjuring opening is fucking brilliant, and it immediately sets the tone for what is a really, really good film. So yeah, 10-8 is fair.
Like you said, that tone it sets like it. Not that it sets the tone of Ed and Lorraine, but it also sets the tone of like you say the whole film of it's unsettling. It's not jump scares because it never jumps. It wasn't jump scares. It was just unsettling. Like that doll didn't move yet, but just unsettling, and that's what the entire Conjuring movie does really, really well.
Yeah, it does. I think the horror movies too often these days rely on jump scares to really get their audience, but I think that does a really good job of just it's the tone throughout, and it's just eerie constantly. Like you never really feel completely safe almost. It just feels like there's something around the corner at all times, and I think they do a really good job with that. And I think the music helps, which we'll talk about soon. But we'll go to the ends then, the end of both movies.
Yeah.
So I'll let you go first for these ones, but the ends.
Oh, I'm gonna say, is this where you do? Is this you do usual thing where you say, "I'm gonna let you go first, then talk."
Do you want to explain the end?
No, you do it. You're so good at it.
I mean, I'm not. I always forget details. My memory is so bad. I always end up forgetting something.
No.
And then you'll bring it up, and when you answer it, I'm like, shit, yeah, I should have said that.
It's weird because out of the two of us, I would definitely say I've got the worst memory.
Oh, I don't know. Mine is bad. Mine is really. Eleanor just thinks I don't listen anymore, but I do. It's just I forget what she says.
It's weird because I know for a fact you don't listen.
No, I don't listen to you. That's different.
Yeah, fair play.
But yeah, the Conjuring, the endings are quite different, I'd say. I feel like where the Conjuring ending, which we see the final battle per se in the house with Caroline and how she's possessed, and they perform the exorcism. The floating chair, which creeped me the fuck out, which is so fucking effective even now because they think they've done it and then she just fucking floats over. It's so good. All of that and the big exorcism and how intense everything is, and then it kind of ends with them heading home, saying the family have their happy ending. Ed and Lorraine head home and they put the music box in that room, and it as they leave it starts to play, and you see the little mirror bit, and it's like throughout the film we've seen the spirit show up, and it's like, will they show up, and it kind of ends on like an
Inception type ending.
Yeah, it's like you didn't see anything but the music's playing, so is there something there? It's a bit more mysterious and you don't really have a conclusive answer, whereas the Insidious ending is very you're quite certain what happens, where the start of it is when Josh goes into the further to get his son Dalton and goes through all that, which is quite well done because it's all dark and obviously it was made for cheap. They had the ability to make that quite effectively with like the mannequins and stuff, which were creepy as shit. Like
you just turn off the lights and put on the fog machine. That's all you need to do.
Yeah, exactly. And he saved millions while doing it, and I think it works. You don't get to see much. You only see what Josh sees, and I think that works because it's not. And you don't see it until it's pretty much in your fucking face. But yeah, we get that, and when he gets out, we see the way the family have a very brief happy reunion before the medium, whose name we spoke about before, and I've already forgotten it. What's she called? Elise. When she goes to hand things over, and she immediately notices something's wrong and takes a picture. And at that point, we're not really sure what's going on until we see Josh strangle her, which came out of nowhere the first time I watched it. I didn't expect it at all. mostly because I'd watched it years later and I'd seen already that she's in the sequels. So I was like, I just assumed she was going to be around.
How is she in
But
the sequels? I forget.
well, I think because they did a couple of prequels, but I didn't know that at the time. So they're about her
Oh, and
before,
then she
which I
turns
didn't
into
realize.
in the ones that take place after, don't they? Yeah.
Yeah, so I wasn't aware. But then he obviously kills her, and then we quickly see why, and we see that she noticed the black on the nails, and she took the picture, and it was that creepy motherfucker from the beginning, who had been terrorizing him as a child as well. And then we see his wife, played by the absolutely unbelievable Rose Byrne. I was saying to Eleanor watching it today, I think that's one of my number one crushes. I've got such a crush on Rose Byrne. But she finds the body, and when she sees the camera and she looks and she sees the picture, and then all of a sudden he's just behind her with a hand on the shoulder, and it ends with her character Renee gasping.
Yeah.
So they're very different endings. One's very dramatic, and the other's more mysterious. So how did you score them?
Oh yeah, it's me. It's my turn, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah,
Uh,
because you didn't want to describe it, you left it to me.
you just do it so well.
Bollocks to that. No, I don't.
I just
I
like
just mumble for 2 minutes.
I just like letting you talk so I can zone out for a bit.
Yeah, it's like the tables have turned.
Yeah, to be fair, if I was to talk, you wouldn't understand what we were talking about anymore because you were zoned out. So it's much better if you do it. I went 10-9 to Conjuring once again because I just think it's the execution. It's so much better done. Better done. I think I did that last episode. Said better done as well. I don't really think that was good English on my part, or very good, but it's better executed. It's full on creepy. Like when you said you think it's over, and then the fucking chair starts floating, and then it goes up on the fucking ceiling. All the whole exorcism stuff when she starts coughing blood and it splatters on the sheet, and all of that bit just. I'm going to bring it out for. I'm not using it in a while. It's fucking phenomenal, and like in comparison to Insidious, like I say, it's the goofiness of it that I'm kind of like. Though I will say some bits in the Insidious ending that I do really like when he's walking around the house and it's showing you the story of the family that's killed by the daughter. Fucking brilliant. And then when they were all just kind of stood there, and then all the faces turn into a fucking creepy smile. That's the bit that gets me.
That fucking.
Probably the only bit in the whole film that really creeps me out is that family at the end. But yeah, I think for Insidious, because it feels a bit goofy, it just can, and it's not scary anymore. It's more about it is like a mini action thing. It kind of loses me a little bit. Whereas Conjuring, I'm so invested in the family. I'm so invested in bringing the mum back. I'm so invested in the exorcism because he's not allowed to perform the exorcism, and Lorraine freaking the fuck out the entire way through it, and then all the way up to the end where, like you say, it's like I said, but it's the Inception type ending, and you're like, right, either we're gonna, and your entire time you're thinking either we're gonna see something, or it's going to close and Annabelle's going to be there. That's what I think every time, and I know it's not going to happen, but I think it's still this time is going to be the time when it's fucking something there. So yeah, again, I just think Conjuring is just so much more. Oh my god, what's fucking wrong with me? So much more executed in a better way. That wasn't good English either, but yeah, I don't know what I'm saying anymore. We can't film late anymore, Cal. It's Conjuring's executed better.
Well said.
Yeah. That's if these episodes were releasing back in the day, that could have gone on the poster.
Yeah. No, I actually went. This is the first time I think we'll disagree because I went 10-9 in favor of Insidious, largely because I quite like when a horror movie ends as sudden as that one did, and it lets us know that things aren't right, and it's not up to interpretation. It lets us know that essentially everything's fucked. I mean, if you watch the sequels, you know that's not necessarily true, but at the time it ended, and you thought, well, I guess that's the entire family done for. I think you just assumed Josh was going to take out everyone, and that his wife, poor sweet Rose Byrne, was a goner. But I also think the twist was nice. I think having the medium die at that point was really shocking because she played such an important role. I don't think anyone saw it coming, and I like when I'm caught like something takes me by surprise like that. And like you said, the family in The Further with the girl who shoots her family, and then the way he turns, and it's just all the faces like that is so unsettling. It's why I think, I don't know if you liked it, but that smile, the concept of smile, the premise of smile, just
the premise
when they're smiling, it creeps me the fuck out. That's subtle horror like that is just a creepy smile is always some of the most effective for me.
Smile was a massive disappointment for me. I was expecting it to be like proper creepy, and it was boring.
I think it was one of those that The Favourite went on. My thing with horror movies is when they try to explain what's happening, it usually falls flat. Sometimes it's best to just not know what the fuck's going on, in my opinion. Just we don't need to know. Just let's go. But yeah, like that family was so creepy, and the weird Darth Maul looking thing.
Oh,
it's just
crackhead Darth Maul.
Yeah, like the way he like shows up, and it's like his jump scares are quite good actually. I don't mind them, and he's a very effective looking monster. I think like seeing him in that room with the song, which we'll talk about later, which I'd rather fart Mike Tyson than ever person to listen to, is so effective for me. So yeah, I went 10-9 in favor of that because the Conjuring ending is good, but I think the twist element to the Insidious one is what pushes it over the edge for me, because I love when something takes me by surprise like that. I just love being shocked, and that's what that ending did.
See, I'm much different in that I prefer a conclusive ending that's still a little vague. Like the film ends, we still get a conclusion, everything's over, but you still get that, like, we'll call it the Inception ending of, well, obviously it's not fully, there's something still there. Plus you still got all the stuff of like Annabelle that went off that you just kind of have to hope is resolved, and that she was, because that's never really resolved in the film. You just kind of take the kid and go, oh, okay, well, she's back in a case. Obviously, you're just having a fit, love. But and so you kind of, that's open ended as well. And it just, I don't know. This for me, there's something about this case is done, but obviously there's more cases to be had. Scooby Doo, like.
Yeah, and I think that's why the Conjuring universe works. I think because there are all these different cases, and it's not just like a one and done. Like the Insidious one, as the series goes on, it's like, are we still dealing with this shit? Like it's the same shit.
Yeah, we're not doing a legacy round this week, so I'll talk about it now. But I don't like the latest Insidious movie that brought the original cast back and now they're older, just really bored me. Like I didn't get on with it at all, because it's just like you said, is this it? Is this all it is now? Is this just what we're dealing with? Just right, we need to go into the further. We knew that it's nothing's changed. Whereas, like you say, the Conjuring, it does mix it up a little bit every now and again, and kind of jumps around time as well. So yeah, agreed.
Yeah, you mentioned that. Then have you do you like the Conjuring sequels? Then like the second one in England, I think is fucking brilliant.
Yeah, I love the main three Conjuring movies. Love them all. I know the third one didn't get as much love as the others, but I really loved it. It's one of the Annabelle movies that I really like. I can never remember which one it is. And then, which is the other one? None I weren't a fan of. I've not seen the new one yet. And we didn't watch La Llorona, because at that point we'd watched The Nun and was like burnt out. So, but yeah, really, the mainline Conjuring movies, can't get enough of them.
Yeah, it's fair enough. That
mainly because of my boy Patrick Wilson, which is a nice segue for you, I think.
I was just about to come up with my own, you bastard. I had one there. I was going to say, you just touched on that last Insidious film, which Patrick Wilson made his directorial debut in. Yeah. And like we said earlier, he's obviously he's the star of both these movies. So instead of just doing best lead character, we decided to just name it the best Patrick Wilson, because why not?
Which is the best one.
Yeah, you've got Josh in Insidious, who at the beginning, it feels like he's not the main character. It feels like Rose Byrne's character is the main one. He plays that really stereotypical husband figure in a horror movie that doesn't believe what his wife is seeing is real. Like you get it in all of them. There's what's that one called with the little girl? It's also starring Vera Farmiga, and it's the little girl who's actually an adult. Orphan, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that husband doesn't believe what she's saying about the kid. You get it quite a lot where the husband doesn't believe in Insidious. He's really dead set against it all, and he starts staying at work to avoid her. And when she brings the mediums around, he tells them to leave. And it's not until about halfway through the movie he really starts to take notice and pay attention. And then it switches, and then it becomes all about him and his past. So he plays a fairly significant role with going into the further and his childhood where he was doing the astral projection shit, and he becomes like the lead, whereas it initially seemed like it was his wife. Whereas I think Ed Warren in The Conjuring, it's a joint thing, and I think he actually is kind of second to Vera Farmiga's character as his wife in that movie, because she's the one that is the medium and she's seeing everything, and he's kind of just like they're supporting her and kind of taking charge when he doesn't think she can. I think it's you now anyway, or is it me?
No, I did the end. I know it sometimes feels like it's me because you talk a lot, but this time, because you explain every category, this time it is you, buddy.
Right. Well, I'm not explaining another category, so I think so.
ever again.
Never again. No. Yeah, for this I went 10-9 in favour of The Conjuring because I think his Insidious character is a bit annoying. Especially at first when he's like staying at the school to avoid spending time with his wife, who's fucking Rose Byrne. Listen, buddy, we all want to be married to Rose Byrne.
Yes, we do.
So fucking realise how lucky you are, you little bastard.
The screaming kid, probably. That's probably the kid is constantly screaming throughout the movie until like the midpoint when she's just kind of like, yeah, they're gonna go stop somewhere else. We never see those children again.
I know, yeah, probably for the best.
Yeah.
But when you compare that to the Ed Warren character, who's clearly very, very supportive of his wife, and he's clearly well capable in his job, and he knows what he's doing. He performs The Exorcist at the end, and it's based on a real person, which always adds a bit of gravity to a character for me. So I went 10-9 in favour of The Conjuring. I just think the Insidious character was until the very end when he started doing found out about his own past, he was just a bit of a dick. Like the way he treated the mediums when they came around and explained what had happened to his son, it was like unnecessarily rude, especially in front of his wife who invited him around. He was like shooing him out the door. It's like, come on, lad, let's not be like this. Come on, you've come all this way.
Come on, lad.
They've come all this way. Let's treat him a bit nicer than that.
Yeah, agreed. And even at the end, like these moments where I'm like, come on, man, just use your brain a little bit. Like, why is he going so close up to these fucking ghosts' faces? Like, you know the spirits. You've been explained that some can be evil and some can be all right. But if I was told, oh, some ghosts you're gonna see are fucking evil spirits that can fuck you up, I won't be sticking my face nowhere. Especially not to the one who's ironing, the older family member that's ironing and looks fucking creepy as fuck, even though she's not one of the evil ones. I won't be sick. And then he goes in and son's Dalton's chained up, and then he's like, oh, he's up there. So he stops trying to unchain him, just stands there staring, looking at him. And you're like, no, don't fucking bother, crack on. And then when they get back to the house, Dalton's like, I'm gonna go ahead, and like he lets him run ahead. No, you just spent all that time trying to fucking find him. Don't let him go now.
Yeah, then he stops to talk to the fucking woman in the mirror.
Yeah. Yeah, stop screaming at her. Oh, it infuriates me, which is why I went 10-9 for Ed as well, because he is like proper fatherly. He's a good dad. He's a good teacher. Well, in terms of spiritual teacher, he's a good husband, and he's not stupid either. And he does take charge, and he's logical, and doing all the exorcism stuff at the end as well looks like. It's not something that's easy for him, and he puts that through, like portrays that really well. And also, I'd love to say this didn't influence my decision, but it 100% did. Look at those fucking sideburns. Those are some peak sideburns on that man. So yeah, 100% Ed Warren on this one.
I also think like his the relationship with Lorraine, it feels warm and it feels genuine, where I feel like him and Renee's character it feels like they were at odds all the way through, and obviously as the series goes on, especially in the last one, they've even separated, whereas it feels like him and Lorraine, their relationship never wavers, and I think that adds to the character as well.
With that moment where it's like God brought us together for a reason. I think the reason's this. And I sat on the sofa and said, "You'd think it were love, but I guess it's for an exorcism." But
Yeah. But he's also quite funny. Like, was it when she mentions the honeymoon and she said something like, what did you say on the honeymoon?" He says, "Can we go again?" Like
yeah,
he's a charming character in that, whereas I don't think Josh is very likable. So that was an easy one. But we just mentioned the Vera Farmiga's character. So the next category we're going to do is on the mediums in both movies, because they both feature a very specific medium, who is the one that is really like the voice into what's going on, and they're the one that kind of does a lot of the explaining. And you've got Elise.
in the Insidious, yeah.
Yeah, that's Elise. I keep forgetting the name. Elise in Insidious, and you've got Lorraine in The Conjuring. So I'm going to let you explain both of them.
Both mediums. They both explain what's going off in the world.
Oh, you're just repeating everything I just said. You say in the world? What did they say? Oh yeah, by the way, Ronald Reagan's president.
Yeah, yeah.
If you didn't catch the sports at the weekend, Blackburn Rovers won 5-2. I don't think they do just run everything that's going on in the world.
At this point, the that news is going to be 2 weeks old, Cal.
Yeah, true. But I'll still be bringing it up because we just scored 5 goals in one game. That's all that matters.
Right. No, yeah, they're the ones that are in touch with the spirit world. They have all the knowledge of the spirit world. Obviously, Ed does as well, but he comes from more like a religious side of it, whereas Lorraine is in contact with the spirits. Like she can actually see them and feel them and understand what's going off. And she's the one that senses them all. Same with Elise. She could see, obviously, the person, the spirit is attached to Josh at the end, and knows all about the further and knows how to contact them. Important, like they both know how to contact the spirit world as well. So yeah, massively connected, and a nice through line for both movies is that these kind of characters almost explain all the spiritual stuff in a way that's accessible, except to you who just tunes out and doesn't care.
The minute anyone tries to explain, I'm like,
yeah. And I, again, it seems to be a running theme, but I again went 10-9 in favor of The Conjuring and Lorraine, because you can clearly see she's been through some shit. She's tortured. She's still recovering from what happened before, which, as the film goes on, you kind of get hints and hints, and it isn't until the second film, I believe, it's been a while, that you really learn what happened with her. And she's still recovering from that, and like balancing that, being a wife, being a medium, and being a mother, end up having all that torture that's following her. Like when she sees her daughter floating in the river, like she's immediate. Like that performance then is incredible. You can see that she's constantly got something attached to her, even when she's happy. There's always that thing, like there's that moment in the garden where he's like, "I'm just gonna nip to the shop to get some things," or whatever he says, and it's like it's been however many years, and you still think you can lie to me, what's going on? So a true testament to that character and how strong she is and how willing she is to put herself in positions even at the detriment to herself. Whereas Elise is great but very straightforward, and she gets killed, so can't be that good, but she doesn't really do much. She kind of sits with a gas mask on for a bit, which is cool, and walks around looking at things like with wide eyes, and she has got a charm to her. She's quite like, she is likable and stuff, but she doesn't have the weight. She doesn't really, like, you obviously it doesn't work on you, and it didn't really work on me this time either. That it's just explaining. It just seems like she's there for the exposition rather than any other kind of purpose to the story, and she doesn't change much. Like you said, everything would still happen if she wasn't there. I feel like she just aggravated stuff. She just explained things a bit more, which I suppose the mum could have done as well. Josh's mum could have done as well. And whereas Lorraine, sorry, not I'm merging them both now. Elise and Elaine. Lorraine also has this connection to the Perrin family's mum as well, and that bond is what really brings her back as well. So definitely went with Lorraine on this one.
Yeah, I went to Lorraine as well, because I think you touched on it then with you see that vulnerability to her, and we get to see her struggles and stuff like that. And with Elise, it's very 2D, two-dimensional. I think we see her.
Explaining what 2D means.
It seems weird to say 2D instead of two-dimensional in this context, but it's you don't see much out of what she's doing in the house. Like you don't really get any sense of her actual personality or of her like life. You don't really see any weaknesses or anything like that. Whereas you see a lot with Lorraine, and like you mentioned it there, the bit outside when she says when he lies about going to the shop, she calls him out on it. It shows how headstrong she is, because the minute he says, "Oh, I'm just going to go see about a case," and she's like, "Right, I'm coming with you," and she walks to the car, and he's like trying to talk her out, and she's like, "Nope, I'm coming." And she's really like headstrong. And I think especially the bit shortly after they meet the family and the guys, they stood outside, and she sees the body behind him, and you just see the legs hanging, and she says to him about the family, like, and she mentions they're great, we got to help these guys, and she's got that like affection to her, and it makes her feel real. She feels like a genuine person who has that motherly love no matter who it is, and I think that works in her favor.
Yeah, and with Elise, she doesn't really seem scared either. Like it's like obviously she's kind of looks a little bit frightened, but she doesn't feel like she ever feels threatened by these dark spirits that are supernatural. Whereas Lorraine understands it all, has obviously done this a few times, knows the kind of things that can happen, but she's constantly terrified still. Like the world still terrifies her. That Blackburn Rovers score still terrifies her.
Terrify anyone.
Like she sees the person hanging, and she sees him. In fact, I want to save it for later, but in one of the best moments in the film, she sees something else and it terrifies her, and it still like has an effect on her. I just think that really adds to her character as well.
Yeah, there's a certain depth to it that I don't think Elise is really afforded. I imagine watching the prequels, the Insidious prequels with her, you probably do get that side of her, but strictly off this one, I don't think you don't.
There's definitely a love for the character in that franchise, but it does come from the sequels. I know
Yeah.
I prefer her in the sequels because she's a lot more playful, a little bit more Yoda-like. She's a lot more playful, but then serious.
Yeah.
That's a Star Wars reference for this week.
Yeah, I was just saying.
I know we got Darth Maul in earlier.
You are?
We got Darth Maul in earlier.
Yeah, and that was me. I started dropping one. Fuck. We'll move on then to the supporting cast, because both of these movies, especially The Conjuring, is quite stacked. I think Insidious, you've got Ty Simpkin, who played Dalton, who isn't actually given that much to do in the first one because he spends a large portion of the film unconscious. But when he is awake, he is quite charming in the role, and the way he speaks to his mum, especially at the beginning and when he first comes back and he says he's tired and stuff, it feels like it's a genuine child. Like none of that feels scripted. That feels like the way a real child would speak, which is quite hard with child actors sometimes, where they feel quite wooden, and it feels genuine. So I quite like him. You've obviously got Josh's mum, who's a motherfucker. I'll say more on her in a minute, but she's a motherfucker. And you've got like the crew with Lee. You outside?
Don't forget Rose Byrne.
I'm getting to Rose Byrne.
Oh, sorry. I'll let you continue. My bad.
But you've got like that. Is it Lee Winnell, I think, who wrote the Insidious movies, and I think he directs at least one of them. And he played Specs, one of the.
All right. I didn't know that. I didn't know he wrote and directed.
Yeah, I know he wrote the first one, absolutely, and I think he directed one of the prequels. But yeah, he wrote this one, and I think Specs is his name. He's one of Elise's like sidekicks, as well as the other one, whose name I can't remember.
We'll call him, if one's called Specs, we'll just call it one Beardy.
Sure, yeah, sure. That sounds good. But yeah, so you've got those guys, but the cast other than that, it doesn't really extend too far. Whereas the Conjuring one is pretty extensive, and you've got the entire Perron family, who I think, not to reveal too much of my score, I think all do an absolutely fucking brilliant job. I think every single one of them does a brilliant job. I think the kids, some of the child acting in that is some of the best I've seen in a very long time. I think Joey King especially is brilliant.
King's got a moment in it that's phenomenal.
Yeah, she's brilliant in that film. It seems so genuine, her reaction when she's like terrified and crying. Like she's so good. But I think all the kids are. I don't know most of the names, but like Mackenzie, I think Mackenzie Foy plays one. I'm not really sure I recognize any the others. They're the only two like noticeable names, I think. But the entire the older children put in solid performances. Even April, the youngest, the little girl, like she must be what, like 3, 4, 5, and she's brilliant. Like it's so well done. And the mum and dad, I think, are brilliant. Ron Livingston, who played Roger, I think he's not given as much to do because he obviously spends a large portion of the early bits like working away, whereas the mum deals with the brunt of it. And her name escapes me now. I did write that one down actually, so I need to say because she's brilliant. Lily Taylor, I think she is literally fucking wonderful. She does so much in that film with the possession, and even before that, just dealing with everything while the dad's away. Like there's certain scenes where she's like locked in the basement, and it's just so well acted. I think the entire Perrin family are great, and then you add like the kind of the policeman. Was it Brad? I think he was called.
Something like that, yeah.
The non-believer who eventually ends the movie saying he'd rather do it with a man with a gun.
Yeah, and then you got the other investigator who
Drew.
You've got Ed and Lorraine's daughter and babysitter. You've got the priest. So you've got a bigger cast as well, and obviously Annabelle and the guys at the beginning.
Yeah, but yeah, going off everything pretty much I've just said, I went 10-9 in favor of The Conjuring because, like I said, some of the child acting in that Perrin family is just exceptional, and there's certain scenes. The one that strikes me in particular is when they first move in and the girls start playing that hide and clap game, and it feels like a real family.
Yeah.
Which I might sound stupid considering most movies kind of portray fans the same way, but that one feels genuine. Like the way the dad's telling them all to watch out, or when the mum's telling him you don't know the house well enough to do dragon. It feels all like a real family. And when the investigators all come around and they're all sat around the table in the kitchen eating, it genuinely feels like just people having a good time. And the way I think April goes up to the dad and just hugs him randomly, or the way she takes Ed food, it just they all feel real. And I don't know if it's because it's based on a true story or because it's set in the 70s, but it almost does feel like this family are the real deal. And
the actual real family, Cal, they're still actors. So they weren't actually the real family. They're still actors.
That's what I'm saying, and it feels like they're real, which is why I'm going 10-9 in favour of them. I think they all did incredible. Although what's random is there's that really random one where it kind of hints that Drew and the oldest daughter are going to kind of have a thing, and then we're just never touching it again. Never again.
Yeah, it kind of flirts, and then Ed comes in and he's like, oh, shit.
There's that little bit, she's kind of just batting her eyelids at him, and it's like, oh, is something going on? Then never touching it again.
Well, not going to comment. For the opposite reason to why I didn't like Josh and why you didn't like Josh, the dad in The Conjuring is the most fucking supportive dad and husband ever. She's like, there's something going off in this house, and he's like, yep, believe you, let's go and find out. Like immediately. Like there's none of that what we both said we don't like in the, oh no, I don't believe you, you're crazy. And it's a very similar setup in that it's the mum and the mum and the wife that gets the brunt of it. But it's just refreshing to watch a film where the husband, the father actually believes it and is immediately on track, even though he doesn't 100% understand it, or maybe he's not 100% sold on it. He's not arguing it. He's not being like, oh, you fucking crazy bitch. Is what can we do? Like, we need to sort out a family kind of thing. And he does a fantastic job in it as well. He's such a good, and Jerry, like there's the moment with Jerry King that I was alluding to a second ago is when she's being tugged on the bed. First of all, believable, but I'm going to put that down special effects. But when she thinks there's somebody in the corner of the room, her acting terrifies me. It's pure fear. And I know there's a lot of films that obviously the whole genre built in it that's built around these actors being scared, but that it all feels genuine. There's not a performance in The Conjuring that doesn't feel genuine. There's a few moments with Ed and Lorraine's daughter. It's maybe we could have got a better child actor, but other than that, like there's not a bad performance in the entire movie. All the family, like you say, all the family feel like a real family. The police officer, fucking funny as hell, when the door starts creaking, he's like, what, I had to go. piss myself. And when he sees the woman in the laundry room and has to fucking like, he just starts fucking running and screaming. Absolutely gets me. It's good that there's like the tiniest smidge of humor without going too far as well. It's like realistic humor. But I don't know if I want to talk about it now or talk about it later. But there's moments with the mum that are oh no, I'll talk about one of them now. There's a moment when she's playing hide and clap with the daughter that's left at home and all the rest go to school, and she starts realizing that when she realizes that the daughter's not in the cabinet and something else is, there's a look of fear on her that's just, oh, it's on point. It's fantastic. They were talking about hide and clap. I said to Grace, thank God there's iPads and Nintendo Switches and everything now, because I won't be able to play this bullshit with my child.
No. Fuck no.
Fucking boring is that.
It sounds like a terrible game. Like,
The
it's an accident waiting to happen. It's a death trap. Walking around blindfolded, upstairs as well. Like, who knows what could have happened?
I think I remember thinking it the first time watching it, and this last time watching it, I'm like, oh, she's going to fall or she's going to step on something. And they go a completely different route instead. It's just so much better. So much better.
I think that's what works well in The Conjuring is it leads you to believe that it's heading in one way and it kind of takes you in another, which I think it does more than once. There's a few times where with the music box where the mum at first and then at the end where they're just looking into it and you're just expecting to see something and you just don't, but it's that suspense while you're waiting. I think that adds to it. Rather than get a jump scare out of it, you don't for the most part, and I think that's really well done.
I even like the priest's reaction when he sees the evidence and sees the videos and stuff, and then they're explaining everything. And there's another, I don't want to say the same thing again, but it's just another look of fear. It's like it's almost like he can't believe his eyes, and like he probably has seen this a lot, but this one is going, he's like, oh, fuck, this is serious. In comparison to like Insidious, like there was so many times watching Insidious this time where I felt that it's like this does feel like a bit like EastEndersy. It doesn't feel genuine. Like when they're playing with the kids, it doesn't feel genuine. Like when he's like blowing raspberries on the baby and stuff, and when Rose Byrne sat laughing with playing with oh fucking what's his name, Dalton. Like it doesn't feel genuine. It does feel like something off like a sitcom or a soap. Even like the guys at the end and Elise, it doesn't have this kind of weight to it. It all just kind of feels like you said, 2D, two-dimensional, if you didn't know what that means. So you're welcome. And it just, in comparison, it's two very different levels of performances and like strength of cast as well.
Yeah, and I think for me, one of my favorite scenes in almost any movie like this is the one where everyone kind of at the same time realizes something's going on. So like in The Conjuring, it was when the dad's coming home and he pulls up and he can hear everyone screaming and the mum's stuck downstairs and the girls upstairs have been I can't really remember. I think it's when the spirit on the wardrobe jumps onto the girl and he comes in and he's like trying to calm her down. And he says something like, "Someone tell me what the hell's going on." And it's like that bit where everyone realizes something's going on. And we're in Insidious when the mum reveals that she also sees things and it's not just Rose Byrne's character, and then they hear a crash and they go to Dalton's room and he's on the phone, everything's been trashed up. It's like those moments where the characters realize something's actually happening and they start to believe everyone else. I think it's some of the most satisfying stuff that you can do. So I feel like it's annoying when there's a character that doesn't believe you at first, but once they do, I think it's so satisfying. Like even Brad the police officer, when he clicks after seeing the maid and he's like no longer just thinks it's the fucking gust of wind and stuff.
Well, there's a great moment between what's the dad's name?
In which one?
Sorry, Conjuring.
Roger
and Ed, like Ed's fixing the car and having a conversation about Lorraine and his wife, whose name is escaping me as well. And it's just out of place. It's not a horror movie conversation. It's real. It's like a real life conversation, but it just builds up the character relationships of everybody in that one simple conversation around fixing the car. Love The Conjuring, man. Fucking love it.
Yeah,
oh yes, 10 9 to Conjuring.
Yeah, me too. I don't know if I said it 10-9 as well. Although Rose Byrne was fantastic. I hear no bad word about her. What a woman. What a delightful woman.
Agreed. No, nothing. No, there's one moment where she's screaming, and she's scream for like the entire film. She's screaming in American, but then there's one moment where she screams in Australian, and I was like, "Oh, couldn't keep the accent away there, could you, love?"
Sometimes it slips. Sometimes it slips. We'll let it slide though.
It's really distinguishable because one moment she's screaming, and the next moment she's like, "Crikey!"
Yeah, that's not an accent that's subtle either.
No.
We'll move on then to the best. I'd say monster, but there's obviously quite a few demons in each movie. So we'll move on to the best demons in both movies. Then you've obviously got it's like an array in both. To be fair, both movies have got a lot. On the surface, when I came up with that, I just thought of like the Darth Maul looking motherfucker versus the evil like demon at the end of the Conjuring, but both are actually plagued by several different ones, including like little creepy boys that look like they're from like the Tudor era, or like the two women in white, which creep me the fuck out, or the maid in The Conjuring who attacks Brad. Like, there's some really good ones in both movies. I think. I'm trying to remember if it's me or you. You go.
The
You go first.
last one got very mixed.
Yeah, I'll let you go first on this one.
I really like The Conjuring once again, so I went 10-9 once again to The Conjuring.
And it's got to be the most one-sided I think you've ever been.
This is the most one-sided I've ever been. This is the most landslide it's ever been for me, definitely. But I think it's because I like. How do I explain it? In Insidious, it kind of feels like, right, we've got ghosts. Let's do as many different types of ghosts as we can. So we've got like 60s era family. We've got red-faced, Darth Maul, crackhead-looking motherfucker. We've got a creepy. It's like, what scares people? We've got a creepy little boy who listens to creepy little music. We've got twins because everybody knows twins are scary. Fuck, I do. There's always a good one and an evil one, and we know who the evil one is in my life.
Yeah, we fucking do. Christ,
we fucking do. There's a widow. I'm surprised there wasn't a nun in there as well. I guess he was saving that one for later. But it just kind of feels like, and I love the design of the Darth Maul one. I do, but I love it more in the hand-drawn picture that Specs draws. I think it looks so much creepier than in real life. Though I do love the shot when she's looking at him and his like face is behind Patrick Wilson. Looks great, but I like the consistency of. Sounds really boring of me. I love the consistency of the Conjuring one, because it's contained and it's telling a contained story. It's this singular family of the mother, the daughter, the maid, all in this. It didn't try and be like, oh, what's scary, and then just doing whatever. And it also feels, I think it helps make it more creepy because I didn't go, oh, that looks like Darth Maul, or oh, it's just a little boy. I was surprised there wasn't a little girl singing nursery rhymes as well. But yeah, I think it's much more effective because you get glimpses of him. I don't want to talk about a moment, but I'll save it till later. You get glimpses of him, like with the hanging on the tree, or the body in the water, which is obviously their daughter in a vision. And like when the mother becomes possessed, she doesn't change into this other person, but her face morphs into something demonic. And when you do see the maid, it's a flash and it's believable. It's just genuinely believe. It's not like a biker that's just got a slightly disfigured face walking around the bedroom. I think it is creepy because it is more believable, and it's more consistent, and it's less of that ridiculous and silly. Whereas Insidious for me just got a bit too, especially when they're all around him in like a Walking Dead type scene. It's all these different kinds of creatures and different makeup. It almost feels like a haunted house at a fairground. Well, not a fairground, a bit more. What's it called? Scarefest. It feels more like that, with all the different kind of makeups. At points, it just feels like, right, you've been told to come with something creepy. Think of something creepy and dress up in your trailer and come to set. Whereas the spirits in Conjuring felt closer to the story. So I went with a boring answer, but I stand by it. So fuck you.
No, I'm not gonna lie. I agree again that I went 10-9 in favor of The Conjuring as well, because while at first I think the Darth Maul looking thing, I think it's actually called like the lipstick mouth something, which is a really weird name for it.
Is that really what it's called? Don't, because I'm
I swear to God.
I'm still not recovered from last week's revelation of Jason Takes Manhattan. So
I swear to God, it's called like the lipstick something demon.
Lipstick. That makes it sound like it's a very
Weird.
excited dog.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I thought. But yeah, it's called the
Lipstick face demon.
yeah, the lipstick face demon. And at first it does look creepy, and like you said, that shot behind Josh is really well done, and that makes me jump almost every time. But the more you look at it, the more cartoony I think it looks.
Yeah.
And the scenes, especially when it first is chasing Dalton and it's like on the side of the wall and it starts to like crawl and it looks really fake.
Yeah.
Like that's when you can tell the movie was made on a really small budget. And I think the little boy ghost, there's nothing really scary there either. He's just laughing, like he doesn't seem threatening in any way. He's just running around laughing. He's not interfering with them. So that doesn't really strike me as scary either. I think the mannequin stuff with a woman in the favour, that's really well done. And I think the woman that eventually takes over Josh's body, if the film was about that ghost, things would be different, because that is a genuinely creepy look with like the veil down the face. I think that's really terrifying. But like you said, they're all a bit of a mishmash and none of them really link together. And in comparison to the Conjuring ones, where it's all the victims of that house, and because of the era it was in, they were all wearing those like that. It's a very period piece like costume setting for all of them. They're all in like the olden clothes. We've got the maid. The woman in the basement in the yellow dress is terrifying. Like when and it's not even when you see the first thing, it's just when she's sat there with the back and then she's like filming, and it's kind of, you just kind of see her face like slowly turn. I was like, nah, get the fuck out of there. Like that is horrific.
I think Conjuring does more with less as well. Like when they're in the basement and then the ball just comes out of nowhere and starts bouncing on the floor. Like even that shit's scary.
Yeah.
Like if that, and I think it every time I watch these movies anyway, but I'd be out of that house fucking straight away. If I saw,
I'd have been out the day the dog died.
Oh yeah.
If I'd have moved into a house and the morning after someone had killed my dog outside, I am gone. I am so gone. There's something clearly fucking wrong. Or when the birds start flying into the windows, yeah, there's something going on here. Get out. Let's go.
I did while you was explaining a second ago after I looked up the lipstick face demon, I did a little chuckle because I skipped some writing and it said the lipstick face demon or simply Maul, and then I'd kind of
Maul.
Yeah, fans have called him Maul.
Oh.
But I kind of skipped a little bit, and then I read he once was the Sith apprentice who became a Sith Lord and Dark Ruler. I was like, I fucking missed that part of the film. Just saying, now it's talking about Darth Maul.
Maybe that's what happened when in a different universe he doesn't show up in the Clone Wars and stuff, and when Obi-Wan slices him off, he ends up in the favour. But no, that, like I said, it's a bit too cartoony, that, and it doesn't look threatening at all. The end bit when Josh is in the favour and he sees it in the room and it's doing like the nail stuff. Aside from the music playing, I don't think he looks threatening. And when he turns around, it's a bit disappointing in comparison to some of the ones we see in The Conjuring, which all look freaky as hell.
I think it's a great design for Buffy, which is a compliment to Buffy, but an insult to Insidious.
No, you're right. You can tell
it to show up in that kind of thing.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It doesn't look very cinematic.
No.
It looks made for TV and very cartoony, and I think it hurts the ending of it as a result. I've not actually seen any Insidious sequel. Do they ever bring that character back?
I think maybe does he not come back in the last one?
I don't know. I've not seen him.
I think maybe they go back to that room. I can't remember if he's in it or not. They don't destroy it. They don't kill him or anything. So
no, they just escape.
No idea. Can't remember. Obviously,
no. But in comparison to the Conjuring ghosts, it's nowhere near as good. Like the shot of the one on the top of the wardrobe is brilliant.
Or we've not even fucking talked about Annabelle there because she's fucking creepy. That bit in the middle of the film with her daughter where her head just fucking slowly.
The woman on the way in the rocking chair.
Yeah, fucking nope. Get me out.
Oh yeah. I mean, they're all clearly really well done in the Conjuring movie. I like all of the ghosts, and I think even in like as it gets further along, we see some great ones as well. Like in the second one, the nun holding the picture, it's fucking brilliant. I really like they do a really good job with the ghosts throughout the entire franchise. So it's no surprise that one won there for both of us. We'll move on then to the music in both.
Oh, this one will be a fun one
because I think it's what's different to the slashes we did last week. Whereas I think obviously Friday the 13th has got an iconic score, but it doesn't really add anything to the movie, especially at that point where it's all just a bit over the top and they know what they are. Whereas in this, I think the score really, really elevates both movies. And I think without the score, they're probably not half as scary as they are. It's similar with like, I've read something about Halloween in the past where someone watched a test screening and didn't find it that like scary until they added the music and the score, and then he said it was one of the scariest things they'd ever seen. And it was same with the shower sequence in Psycho, where once they added the music, it was that like 10 times more terrifying. And I think the same can be said with both of these. I think the scores in both are incredible. I'll let you describe them since I talk too much. But no, go on.
No, you described the score because I didn't think about the scores. I thought you were talking about individual like songs in the film, and
you could do that then.
I thought you was getting at a very specific thing that I'm going to say I'm been banned from taking credit for it. But obviously in Insidious we've got Tiptoe Through the Tulips, which is your face is fucking.
It is nightmare fuel.
Which we've said before, we work in a cinema, and every October I get to do a Halloween playlist, and I do pop that on. Is that why you've handed your notice in?
That might be it, just in time to get out of there.
For Halloween, get out while you can. And it is one of the best like horror film songs, definitely. It is just fucking creepy. It's a weird, like the singing voice is so fucking weird.
Yeah. Did you know about the guy, Tiny Tim? He's creepy. Anyway, he looked like the child snatcher from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, and he died whilst performing on stage.
What, this song?
I don't know if it was this song, but he was doing a live concert, and I think he had a heart attack on stage. Like Tiny Tim,
oh my
God rest his soul, was a creepy looking guy, and that song is horrific, and it fits the film perfectly. And I think,
I mean, look at that.
Oh, Jesus, look at it, man. He's terrifying. Like, it's not good. So when you see who sings that song, I think it even adds more to how scary it is. But yeah, the Tiptoe Through the Tulips song fucks me.
Can you imagine being like in that era and like going and watching sing that song live? No. But the other Conjuring, obviously it's got some great late 60s, early 70s songs in it. But there's a song when they're setting up all the lamps and the cameras around the house, and it's a song with heavy synthesizer on and like really, really creepy synthesizer. Well, not creepy, like that's the best way to describe it. I don't really know, but it's got like synthesizer keyboard playing through it. Do you know who that is?
I don't think so.
I thought that was the reason you put music down. And like I said, I've been banned. I'm not allowed to take credit for it. This is 100% Grace. She made me pause the film so she could specifically tell me. It's Ryan Gosling's band.
Is it really?
Yeah, so in this film that's got late 60s, early 70s music in it, randomly, when they're setting up all the detective equipment, it's Ryan Gosling's band from when he was younger.
I mean, that's strange. I'm not sure he was around making music in the 70s. So that
well, it's so strange. And what's the name of the band? Because I want to give him full credit, obviously. It is what's his name? Dead Man's Bones, and it's called In the Room Where You Sleep, which is obviously a very apt song. I'm not going to play it, obviously, because I don't want us to get our first ever copyright strike. Second ever, because we have had one on the Instagram page. But Yeah, I thought that's the reason why. I thought that's the reason why you said me. I didn't realize you were talking about score. So if we're talking about songs, I scored it on songs, because both scores to me are quite similar in that it's creepy strings and lots of sharp strings when scares are happening. But I went 10-10 purely for the fact that I can't not give Ryan Gosling anything less than a 10. And Tiptoe Through the Tulips is definitely one of the creepiest songs to ever grace a horror movie. So I did it. I put out a 10-10 and a 10-8 this episode.
I was going to say, ticking all the boxes. I went 10-9 in favour of Insidious because that song is the most horrifying I've ever heard in my entire life. There's no song on earth that creeps me out more. It's just horrific. And I think if you put that in any horror movie and it's scarier, I don't like that could have been any other song. And I don't think it's anywhere near as effective. And hearing it at the beginning when she's outside and she looks through the window and sees the dancing, the creepy fucking dancing, I'm like, first of all, who enjoys that? Who listens to that and wants to boogie? Get the fuck out with that.
I think a little kid does.
Yeah, well, he shouldn't have been alive when that song was on because he looks like he's from Georgian times. And that song was like, well, like 30 years old, so I'm not buying that. And then Lipstick Man playing it, fuck off. We've had it once already. We don't need it twice, pal. We get the point. It's scary.
I think the kids dancing definitely makes that for me. It's such a little boogier.
Yeah, and it's creepy as hell. Whereas, yeah, I do like the 60s, 70s soundtrack in The Conjuring. But in terms of like the actual scores, I think I'd have gone for Insidious as well, because I think The Conjuring, it's very like string-based and echoey, whereas I think Insidious, there's a lot of piano, just like when there's a jump scares, it's just like a bong, and it just really sudden like throngs, and I think it really adds to it. But yeah, if anything, I just wanted to tell you how fucking terrifying Tiptoe Through the Tulips is. So I went 10-9 in favour of that. I'm surprised that wasn't a 10-8 for how fucking scary that song is.
You picked this category specifically just to complain about how it is. You do know that I'll have probably used this on the Instagram page, so you're going to have to share it and listen to it at some point.
I'll mute that shit.
If it's not copyright strike, I'll be using that song, obviously.
In the nicest way possible. Who's going to copyright strike you? Because Tiny Tim's gone.
That's good, but it's Instagram. Instagram's weird.
And to be fair, looking at that motherfucker, he might come back.
Yeah, and I have to check the songs before I put them on. That's why I don't really use songs on the clips I do much more than free stuff. But yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. But in my heart, couldn't give Ryan Gosling anything less than a 10.
See, that's fair. I didn't actually know it was Ryan Gosling, so that might have changed things. But I still feel like the terror outweighs everything.
The way you spoke about, I don't think it's going to change things for you.
It's fucking horrible. When we were younger, me and my friends, when we were younger, we used to hang out. This song, one of them would always wind us up. Say like we'd been out drinking or something, and we'd all be chilling at mine, and it'd be like nighttime, and someone would we'd be putting songs on, and then someone, to be an ass, would put it on, and like we're all like 18-year-old lads at this point, but as soon as someone put it on, there's like 4 or 5 is like, nah, fuck that, get it off now. We don't want to listen to that. Like we can't.
No. Well, you know, it's like at the end of the night, everybody's in the screen, so there's usually just staff in the foyer, and there's nobody else walking around. It is great to just skip to Tiptoe in the Tulips when there's turn the lights out, put that song on.
I don't think anything worse, honestly. Watching Insidious is like the first time I've heard it, probably since last Halloween, and I probably will never hear it again now, unless I watch Insidious again. Can I ever go out of my way to listen to that song?
Hear it again, because I'm going to make sure you hear it again.
It's horrific. But we'll move on now then. That's enough about my hatred for poor Tiny Tim, who has since passed. God bless him. A child snatcher looking singer.
He is creepy looking.
Yeah, I know, man. It's weird. I wasn't surprised if he died and became the fucking lipstick geezer.
Looks very similar.
Yeah. And it's probably why they picked the song. Creeps. We'll move on into the house involved, which...
Oh, yeah.
The thing is, the house in Insidious, it's like, I think what's creepy about that is it's just in the middle of a neighborhood. Like it could happen to anyone. It's not like some historic old house in the middle of nowhere where creepy things do tend to happen. It's a modern looking home. Whereas the Conjuring house is like a farmhouse in the 70s, which is essentially just kind of in the middle of nowhere with like the lake nearby, and it's huge. Like it's fucking huge. It's got the hidden walls, it's got the basement, it's got all the different bedrooms. It's essentially your stereotypical haunted house. So I went, despite all that, in favor of the Conjuring because it fucking works. So it works straight up. And also the house in Insidious kind of doesn't really matter because they move out and it carries on. So the house isn't actually essentially like a character in the manner in which the Conjuring one is. I think sometimes horror movies work when you're just in the middle of fucking nowhere. It's creepy. I wouldn't want to go stay in a house like that. I wouldn't.
Hold on. Last week you were saying you didn't like Cabin in the Woods was boring, and
I never said Cabin in the Woods was boring. I love that film.
no, like the location at a Cabin in the Woods.
Oh no, I said it works.
And this
cool.
one,
the mental asylum was a twist, but it still works. That's why they keep doing it. And this is the 70s. It's different.
I do like that in both films, opposite sides of the house, you've got one basement and one attic, but it's both of them have still got stacked up chairs with cobwebs on them.
Yeah. Do you know what? I saw something about that though. It's because I think Insidious is set on the West Coast where a lot of the houses do have attics because of the heat, and on the East Coast they have basements, which is where Conjuring set. So it's actually geographically correct, apparently.
I was just more making a joke that both of them have got fucking shit in their attics and basements.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're always a mess. I mean, we don't really have like proper attics or basements in England, but I imagine if I did, mine would be a shit tip. So I can't really judge too much.
Yeah, more than likely, same.
I also don't think I'd ever go in it because those shit's always creepy.
Yeah, when I was younger, my dad lived in a cottage in like a really dark area just surrounded with, it was this lone cottage surrounded by trees. You had to get to it via a path. It was proper dark and it had a basement. Everything creaked. Absolutely hated going there on a weekend.
Yeah, I can imagine. That sounds horrendous.
Fucking hated it. Yeah, I went 10-9 for the house in Conjuring as well, because it just doesn't have the same feel when you're in a modern day house. Like it just doesn't feel creepy. It's just like, oh, you're being scared in your really expensive modern looking house. In fact, no, the one scariest thing about the house, the first house in Insidious, is who puts their bed against the window where the curtains have to go behind your headboard. Like, what the fuck's all that? That really fucking took me out of it. Like, come on, plan your room a bit better. And it sounded like a really cramped room as well. I mean, really. No, just design better. Yeah, modern, boring. In the second house, it's a little, I don't know how they're like, oh, we just moved into this house, oh, we're going to quickly sell it and buy another house that's just as nice. Like, it doesn't really have that effect, whereas everything in The Conjuring is just creepy, with the fucking tree, the basement, the secret basement, the wardrobe that's just there with a hole in the back, where they're heavily insinuated that's where they stored the child. Just everything about it's creepy. So yeah, without a doubt, Conjuring.
Yeah, I think there's no question. Like those old houses are just much scarier, which is the general necessity for a horror film, is to scare you. So without further ado, we'll go on to the last category of the showdown, which is just the scares. Like which movie had the best scary moments, because they have both got quite a few. We'll run through some in a minute.
If I had the forethought, I would have had Grace hiding down here the entire time, and then as we went on to scares, have a jump out.
You think Grace would be willing to just sit there for over an hour and listen to us two chat? I don't think there's anything worse.
Or just have Sophie walk in. That'd probably.
Nah, that would be a scare. Do you know, there's a picture at work that I saw of her that had just been put on like above the retail, and I only noticed it for the first time the other day, and it was a genuine like, oh Jesus. Like she was back. I was like, oh dear. It's not what I want when I'm trying to make money.
Sophie being my sister-in-law, who you love really.
I don't know about that. I mean, she's back soon. I'm gone. Is there a coincidence? I don't know. But yeah, we'll talk about the scares then, because both films have got quite a few. I think Insidious, it's a lot more like of a jump scare type of thing, where like Rose Byrne's character notices something like the shoes and like the curtain bit, when she goes to move it and the little boy jumps out, or the, like you said, the lipstick motherfucker behind Josh's face when the mum sees it, and that one gets me every time, because I don't expect that one at all. The mannequins in the further where the creepy faces and stuff like that, and there's another one that I'm struggling. Oh,
the moment where a woman in a dress walks by, and that proper made Grace.
Yeah. Or for me, the baby monitor.
Oh yeah, that bit's good. Yeah,
Because we might not be dads, but we can understand how scary that would fucking be. Like if I had a kid and I've got the baby monitor and I hear some geezer muttering, I don't know if I'm even going again. I don't know if I'm out the door. Am I leaving the kid behind? I don't fucking know.
First of all, I don't know if I'm a dad or not. Could be somewhere.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not. Thank God.
But yeah, no, I'd be if I had. If it's like, oh, it's probably interference. I don't give a fuck.
I'm gone.
It's fucking creepy. Yeah. Whereas the Conjuring, or like, yeah, it's all jump scary and Insidious. Whereas the Conjuring has just got really creepy moments, and there's two that I've been trying to not talk about because I want to save it for here. And it's my favorite moment in the Conjuring movie is when she's hanging up washing and the wind blows and it like stops on something and then just blows away, and then you see her in the window and it's like, oh, that's fucking brilliant. And the second best moment in the whole Conjuring movie is when she hears the noises in the basement and she's locked in and she's lighting the things. She's lighting the things. I know the word for matches, lighting the matches, and they go out and then she lights one and then the hands come out in the dark and clap. Fucking gets me every time. So fucking creepy. But there's loads of stuff in Conjuring and Insidious that, like we said earlier, like with the family that just all of a sudden start smiling and the baby monitor, and then in Conjuring you've got the kid that jumps off of the top of the cabinet, and you've got even like the dog dying. Like you knew something was going to happen. It wasn't a jump scare. It wasn't even a scare, really. It was just creepy. You got the girl in the washroom. You got the ball in the basement. Still gets me. The way the shot kind of cuts back to Lorraine, and you can see, or is it when it cuts to? I can't remember who it cuts to, but you can all of a sudden you can see the feet just hanging.
It's behind Patrick Wilson's character, I think.
Yeah. He just that man just loves having stuff behind him that he can't see.
Yeah.
Like the green screen in Aquaman.
Well, I'm legit excited for Aquaman 2. I don't even care.
Well, you've not got a good track record for liking DC movies. We've not talked about it in a while. And again, when Annabelle turns her head on that rocking chair, I fucking quit.
How stupid have you got to be, though, to keep all these demonic possessions in the same house as your daughter? Seems a bit reckless to me.
You put it in the garage.
Yeah. Like one of those storage units. Fucking stick it on that.
Yeah, put it somewhere safe.
Yeah. Not near your fucking child.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what is a scary moment. The one with the daughter who, when the hair starts to float and she gets pulled up, that shit is terrifying. And it's not even the ones you see. It's like we said earlier, Joey King's character in bed crying about something in the corner, and we can't see anything. But that's terrifying because she genuinely looks like fearful for her life.
Also,
that stuff's brilliant.
The effect of her being pulled, it's really simple, but it looks genuinely like she's being pulled. Like, I know that sounds really stupid because she is probably being pulled by something, but it just really, really, it's the first time that it happens where you kind of see her go down a little bit, and then the next time it happens, it's like further, and it's just so well executed. And when they're looking in the music box for the first time, we're not giving a score, but obviously it's a 10.
I think we've both gone 10-9 in favour of Conjuring here.
And it's just so well done. Even like when they're doing the lecture and they're explaining the nun case and using the footage from, I can't remember if it's Conjuring 2 or the first. No, it's Conjuring 2, and it's explaining all the nun stuff. But using that footage, and even that's like got a jump scare in it, and it's like fucking hell. Like it's not really jump scare. It's all just, it's a build-up of creepiness, and it starts from the very, very beginning of the film with the crayon in Annabelle's hand and it's just creepy. And it just builds up this tension. It builds up this kind of anxiety throughout the film. So when stuff does happen, like shooting out the blood or going on the ceiling and being a creepy motherfucker or crawling through the underneath the building, it all pays off. Whereas Insidious is more classic. That's just scary for a second until you're over it, and there's nothing that's like lasting.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's very telling that we spoke in depth and about the Conjuring scares and very little about the Insidious ones because they
I'll
are
tell you
very
what
brief.
about the Insidious movie the most. It's at the end, not with a woman. That didn't make me jump. It's when it cuts to the big title card that says Insidious and the music's dead fucking loud. I'm like, Jesus Christ. Get me to bed, I'm tired.
Yeah, but that bit with the baby monitor is genuinely terrifying. I think that stuff is really well done. But for the most part, The Conjuring fucking eats its lunch in terms of scares. I think it's so much more effective in the methodical way it does it. Even like with the maid when Brad follows her in and she's in the corner, he falls in, and then all of a sudden she's just in front of him. And it's hearing the fear in his voice as he's screaming Fred, like it just adds to it all. And I just think it is so much creepier. And I fucking love it so much. I love that film so much. I mean, this is probably the most one-sided we've ever done. So I don't think there's any tension in the results. I think it's pretty clear what's won. But I will reveal
who's it gonna be?
The winner with 100. You are.
How much? I'm going to say we know who's going to win, but I think it's by how much. By like this is definitely going to be a landslide, I'm sure. But
Yeah.
by how much is probably going to be.
So the winner is The Conjuring, of course, with 198 to 182, almost a 20-point difference. That's definitely the biggest we've ever done.
Yeah,
I think that would have been if I hadn't scored the music and the ending in favor of Insidious. That would have been a full landslide.
Well, for me, it technically was because I did 8 9s, 1 8, and 1 10, so it balanced it out, so it came out an even 90. So literally the lowest, unless I gave 10 8s to everything, which I'm not going to do. It's probably the lowest we could get it.
Yeah, that's crazy. 198 to 182. Well, that's the biggest we've done. I don't know if and that's surprising actually because they're two films that I actually view as quite similar.
Yeah, I think rewatching them over these past 2 days, like I really enjoyed watching Conjuring. That immediately finished it and went, if I weren't knackered right now, I would put The Conjuring 2 on. And if it weren't late, I will say both times we've had to watch something nice afterwards. You know, like an episode of Simpsons or just something nice. I think we watched a little bit of No Way Home after The Conjuring. When
something to help you sleep.
Not me. You know what I'm saying? Not me. But we had to watch all the Spider-Men get together. Whereas Insidious, I was like, I remember liking this a lot more the first time I watched it. Still like it, but I think I liked it a lot more the first time I watched it. And not really like, oh, I need to see what happens to him in number 2. I'll be fine. But now I'm really like, right, I've got to watch all the Friday the 13th. I need to watch the Conjurings. I was talking to somebody about Friday the 13th movies and they said they don't get any better. And it just
Who said that?
A friend of mine, Rich. And I now need to watch them even more.
Hey, the fourth one's genuinely good, I think.
That's what he said. He said the fourth one was great. Though it takes his description was it's genuinely good. Everything I know about slasher movies probably came from the fourth one. And then he was like, it mostly takes place on a boat and it's got Corey Feldman in it. I was like, that's what Cal said.
And it's got Crispin Glover doing some weird dancing.
Well, what more do you need?
Exactly. It ticks all the boxes for me. The fourth one's good, and we kind of strayed off there with Friday the 13th. That was last week. But yeah, like I said, I've only actually watched the first Insidious and I've never felt a great need to watch the others. It felt like it was one contained story and would have been fine on its own. Whereas The Conjuring, I've watched all 3 of the main ones, and I'm like you, I love all of them. I think the second one is great. I think the third one's good. It's not quite on the level of the first 2, but it's still good. And I'd probably watch a Conjuring movie every single year if they release one because the possibilities are endless. Like with different cases with the same investigators, I think it would work every single time. So yeah, give me more of that.
Agreed.
But yeah, that brings us.
They're supposed to be doing a fourth one.
They are doing a fourth one.
I think so.
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah,
I hope
they're
so.
great. It's just Ed
Yeah,
and Wayne as a film duo are great, and I think
yeah.
they deserve more. Stop making these spin-offs like the Nun. Just give me more Conjuring.
Yeah, exactly. I'll tell you what though, everyone always talks about like Jamie Lee Curtis as the Scream Queen, but Patrick Wilson's got to be the Scream King now. Because what's that? This is two full franchises he's done.
Probably.
There can't be many men that have done more.
I'm sure people would want to give it to Robert Englund instead.
Yeah, but he's the villain. You can't be a Scream King if you're the villain.
Oh, yeah, good point. Yeah, let's give it Patrick Wilson.
Yeah.
Well, this is official internet. Patrick Wilson's the Scream King.
Yeah, sound. We've anointed him.
Patrick Wilson and Jamie Lee Curtis in it.
That'd be class.
That would be class.
Yeah, I'd like that. He did one as a villain once. That I've not seen, but I want to because it sounds fucking incredible.
Aquaman. Is it?
No, that was a great film.
It was. I do like Aquaman.
Did you notice in that, speaking of Annabelle, that they snuck Annabelle into it?
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
And she also makes an appearance in the new Shazam film. Like,
and any film that James Wan does, he sneaks Annabelle in. And in Insidious, you can see chalk drawing of Jigsaw.
He's fucking clever, isn't he? Knows what he's doing. Fucking sneaking all these scary motherfuckers.
He's just got an extra prop laying about.
Yeah, he's like, let's stick this in. I don't know why Annabelle showed up in fucking Aquaman, but I was like, whoa, get that gone.
It just means it's all part of the universe. Next time when you watch Conjuring 2, just think Aquaman's out there somewhere.
Yeah, well, if this is happening, that nun should get smacked about by Henry Cavill. So that'd be a film worth watching.
Or the silhouette of Henry Cavill, or the really bad CGI face of Henry Cavill.
Yeah, just get battered by someone. But yeah, that brings us this episode to an end then, guys. We hope you enjoyed that. That was quite a fun one. We had two great horror films, which was nice. Breath of fresh air after last week for you. But yeah, I enjoyed that. I hope you did. Did you?
Last week broke me. Like, he genuinely broke me.
Well, hopefully this went some way into fixing you then. But
yeah, I've enjoyed it. Yeah, I've enjoyed today. I like both these movies, and it's completely different because they're not like overly silly or comedic. But yeah, I love the Conjuring movies.
Yeah. There's some of they were top like level horror franchise for me, I think. So it was good that we got it done. But yeah, we hope you guys enjoyed that. If you are watching on YouTube, feel free to subscribe to channels and give the video a like, and head over to like Spotify or Apple Podcasts or anything like that if you want the audio only version. Similarly, if you are on the audio only versions, head over to YouTube and stare at these faces. I'm wearing my I've had it for about a month now, but it's Back to the Future t-shirt, which I fucking love. Really DeLorean.
Continued the October film with a satanagram.
Do you know what? I thought it was a Game of Thrones shirt, you know?
No, it's Doom.
Doom. Oh, well. Some nice t-shirts going on. So you're missing out if you're on Spotify or anything like that. Get onto YouTube and look at these bad boys.
The last day before my big haircut, obviously we're filming in advance, and this is the longest it's been since COVID. You probably can't see it very well on camera, but it's fucking though. And you're not able to see it on camera. I took a photo of my hair this morning because it has grown out. We're going on a tangent at the end of the episode. It has grown out really bad, and the greys are so thick, just like a line across. But
I'm quite lucky. This light doesn't really show them off. The top of my hair there tends to have quite a few.
Did we talk about this last week?
Yeah, I think so. You get me on the topic of grey hairs, and I start to get a fucking meltdown.
I'm starting to worry that when they shave the side of the head, that you're still going to be able to see them. Yeah,
that's when you know you're old.
Yeah, I know I'm old because you remind me every week.
I do. But yeah, if you guys want to find us anywhere else, I'm on Twitter at Callum Altimus. By the time this is out, I won't be tweeting about it, but I am tweeting a lot about the fact that Blackburn Rovers look all right again. We keep going through these patches. We're either good or we're bad. We're never in between. And we look good now, so I'm positive. I'm also tweeting a bit about wrestling because there's a big show coming up that I'm very, very excited for. And I am also, at this point, a full-time member of the Gimme Sport team, so I might start sharing more of my articles on Twitter because I'm going to be writing a lot more and making decent money doing it. So why the hell not?
Not to brag.
What? Not
to brag.
That is a brag. I'm proud of myself. But I'm also on Letterboxd at Calamus, where there's going to be a lot of horror films coming in. I've not really put any of these on yet, so I'm putting them all in bulk. Like I put both the last week's episodes on today. I'm gonna
I don't pop the episodes that we do. If I've not watched it before, I don't put it on Letterboxd until we've announced it, at least.
Yeah, but because we're recording a lot of these in short notice, I've been watching a lot more films lately. So I think I was trailing behind because of how much writing I've been doing, but now I'm back to like 28 for the month. So I think I'm averaging one a day right now, which is wonderful. But yeah, as October progressive, it's going to be more and more.
You got horror. 2 weeks off from recording, so you can watch films for fun again.
I know, yeah. Well, to be fair, I did watch Groundhog Day today, so I did watch that for fun. I love that movie.
What?
Groundhog Day.
I can't know what you're saying.
I knew you. Do you know, at first I wasn't sure whether you're trying to do a bit. That's why I hesitated.
You still went for it. I'm on Twitter at Nay_214, where unfortunately at this point Ahsoka will have ended and there's no more new Star Wars for the rest of the year. So I'll just be quiet and depressed. Yeah, I'll just be quiet and depressed, retweeting what everybody else is talking about Star Wars. My life will go back to meaning nothing as a married man, obviously this time. I'm on Letterboxd at Nay214, where I'm hoping we can start increasing my film output. I'll have at this point, I'll be having a week off before I go back to work, so that week is probably just going to be catching up on films. And at this point, I will have seen The Creator, which is a film I've been looking forward to all year. So really hoping it's good, because it is one of my most anticipated films of the year.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that as well. I think this episode will drop on the 12th of October. Is that right?
Tomorrow I'm going to watch the Errors tour.
Oh, that'll be fun. But if this is the 12th, that means in 8 days, Killers of the Flower Moon is out. And at this point, I am very hyped.
And you won't be able to get a free ticket.
No, but I spoke to a certain someone that gets free tickets, and if he goes to watch it, he's taking me with him.
You're talking about me? Because
absolutely, I'm talking about Bernie.
I'm going to say, I'll take you, but yeah, let Bernie take you. Don't use my free tickets.
No, Bernie boy. Because I think other than myself, I don't think I know anyone quite as excited about this film as he is. He's such a big Leo fan that I don't think he's interested in anything else right now. So I'm counting down the days. This time, by the time this episode drops, we're just over a week away, and I am fucking hyped. So yeah, let's go. But anyway, on that note, we've waffled on long enough. So thanks for listening, guys, and we will see you next week,
where we'll continue the spooky season.
2 pieces together. Look at that. Bye.
Bye.